What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of Benstant Reaction, a spinoff of the Ben Garcia Show where we react to all things going on in the sports world, whether it's a trade, breaking news, a big game, and in just a second, we're going to react to the Arizona Cardinals just moments ago beating up on the Chicago Bears 29-9 in this game. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or for free on the iHeartRadio app, we appreciate you making us a part of your day, or you're watching here on YouTube where these post-game shows seem to be exploding recently, at least for my sake, so we appreciate you watching on there, putting a face to the voice. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, maybe even tell a friend if you're feeling really frisky enough about the Ben Garcia Show. As I just mentioned moments ago, the Arizona Cardinals defeat the Chicago Bears 29-9, a game in which I thought it was going to be a lot closer. This game, I anticipated it being basically an away game for the Cardinals. You know, just quickly on that front, I don't expect fans to show up if they're not sold on the team. Play better, the fans will show up. That is all there needs to be on that conversation. And not only that, there's a lot of Midwestern people here in Arizona. It's a melting pot, a lot of different people from a lot of different places. The Bears with a big fan base, basically contributing to the Cardinals' funds, giving us their money, showing up to the game, and watching their team getting absolutely shellacked. But the Arizona Cardinals, as just mentioned moments ago, cover the spread of what was 1.5, do that handily, defeat the Chicago Bears 29-9. So for anyone watching this game that is trying to get a Bears perspective, I do get a decent amount of those. Let me just give you my quick 1.5, 2-minute synopsis on the Chicago Bears. So bear with me here. But I think it's fair to throw out there if you are a Bears fan and wondering if this is the final straw. This wasn't the final straw for Matt Eberflus and the Chicago Bears relationship and if it's going to work with Caleb Williams. Last week was clearly the last straw. You had to give the Chicago Bears another week to be able to see how they would respond to what was an excruciating loss last week at the buzzer for a touch, or after losing on a Hail Mary touchdown. That is coaching. Tyreek Stevenson is arguing with the crowd. He's not worried about getting in trouble with coaching. You don't do that if your team is absolutely disciplined. You don't argue with the crowd or taunt the crowd and then end up being the guy who effectively loses the game for you. That is not personnel. That's not a young player screwing up. That's coaching. And what was the punishment for Tyreek Stevenson in this game? Missing 2 series. That's what the punishment was. For effectively potentially ending their season last week, they've got a really hard schedule coming up. That game against the Commanders really meant something. And taking a step back in the rebuild, because if you win that game, it shows everyone you can win ugly. You discipline him by missing 2 series. That doesn't send a message to anyone. The discipline on this team clearly doesn't connect with the players. Caleb Williams is not connecting with Matt Eberflus. I actually feel bad for Caleb because there was a handful of plays or a few different times in this game where I thought, oh, there's something there with Caleb. Still got a little too much hero ball in him. That'll get coached out of him. But this Matt Eberflus Chicago Bears thing, it's just not working. It doesn't work. Everyone, including myself, this wasn't a hot take where everyone said Matt Eberflus can't coach. Maybe he's a good defensive coach, but overall, head coaching, it's not his thing. The offense, with all these weapons, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet, Caleb Williams, they look dysfunctional. It's time to move on from Matt Eberflus. This week wasn't the straw that broke the camel's back. It was last week. And seeing them come out with no fire, with nothing to play for in this game, it felt like at times, that is coaching. Not responding more this week after a devastatingly lost last week, that's coaching. That's not on the players. And it seems like to me, Matt Eberflus is at the beginning of the end, and it's what makes sense for the Chicago Bears, and it's what even makes more sense for Caleb Williams. Let's move over to the Cardinals side of things. And let's talk 10, 12, 15 minutes about the Arizona Cardinals. It's hard to pinpoint what exactly in this game you can say, well, that's what the Cardinals did. They averaged 6. This is insane. As I'm reacting to it in real time, I don't ever look at the stats immediately. I want to react to it and have you guys get my immediate reaction. And I went to go and look at the average yards per carry, and holy cow, right next to it is how many yards they actually had in this game. The Arizona Cardinals rushed for 213 yards in this game. 107 from that from James Conner, 59 from that from Amari DiMercato, 37 of that from Trey Benson, and some change from guys like Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, and DJ Dallas. 6.3 yards per carry. I joked on Twitter, if you want to follow me on there, at Ben Garcia Show, and in all social media platforms, at Ben Garcia Show. I had said, the Bears cannot stop this play, and it was just a picture of the Madden formation, a shotgun inside zone. I didn't understand it. They just effectively ran that play over and over and over again. But although the rushing attack was awesome, I'm not going to blame that for the win. Or I'm not going to give, I'll give some credit, but it's not everything for the win. And I'm not going to give as much to the defense, which was awesome today. And the defense played well. Budda Baker was awesome. Max Melton at times was flashing. That might be a huge hit for the Cardinals. And the pass rush really showed up in this game. I think it all comes back to coaching. And it's not me trying to beat this drum or tell everyone, go listen to a Friday show. I mentioned that this is why the Cardinals were going to win was because of coaching. But I thought they would win by a fraction of what they won by today. Jonathan Gannon has installed discipline and has installed a level of competency this Cardinals organization hasn't seen since Bruce Arians. I want to give credit to Kyler. He played well today. I want to give credit to James Conner. I want to give credit to the wide receivers, although it wasn't exactly an explosive day offensively. I want to give credit to the defense. But it all comes back to coaching. It all comes back to Jonathan Gannon. This is why on Friday I said, this is a choose-your-own fighter. Are you going to take the incompetency of the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus doing less with more? Or are you going to take Jonathan Gannon, who's continuously done more with less? I had my father-in-law just text me a second ago. But he said the defense looks good. And I texted back to him, well, it's actually the 27th ranked defense in the league. Because it's not a very good defense. The personnel is horrendous. Jonathan Gannon, Nick Rawless and company are coaching their absolute butts off. This is a bend but don't break defense, and it is making turnovers happen. When it feels like the worst time for a turnover should happen for the other team, it's happening for the defense. This is all manufactured by Jonathan Gannon and the rest of the coaching staff. The competency, the relevancy, and the standard that each player holds themselves to, the discipline, that all comes back to Jonathan Gannon. That's what today was. Today was a culture win. You went into a game in which you were effectively playing away, although you were at home, but there was just a lot of Bears fans there. A lot of Bears fans. In this game, you're staring 2 wins already in the face. This is effectively what is going to propel you, we'll get to that in a second, but propel you to the playoffs. You now own the tiebreaker over the Bears. This was a ginormous game for the Cardinals. And it all came back to coaching. The Arizona Cardinals get a safety on this late in this game. And every single player on the punt return team waved for a fair catch. That shows you everyone is in sync. Barely any penalties on the day. This team continues to play clean football outside of 1 week where they were really bad with penalties. This week, as I look at it, 2 penalties for 15 yards, as opposed to the Bears' 6 penalties. This team is playing competent, clean, disciplined football. And it is because there is a standard set that every player holds themselves to. Every player and coach holds themselves to. And that all comes back to coaching. This was a culture win. This was a statement win. This was stepping on the throat of a team that you will be battling for playoff positioning for later in the season. And now you have elevated expectations from myself, from Cardinals fans, from everyone else in the media. This is now a next step in the rebuild. The expectation now for the Arizona Cardinals is playoffs. You now look at the Cardinals' upcoming schedule. They are 5-4. These are some of the quarterbacks they're going to play. Aaron Rodgers, who has not looked good this year. Geno Smith. Sam Darnold, who you never know who you're going to get on a week-in, week-out basis. Geno Smith again. Drake May. Bryce Young. The next 6 weeks, you are getting those quarterbacks. That has now set the expectation at this team should be a playoff team. And the ability to potentially win this division. There is only, if you break it down at this point, the Cardinals really only need to get 4 more wins to slip into the playoffs. And with all those quarterbacks coming up, and with the ability that you play well against the San Francisco 49ers, and you've already beat the Rams once, expectations are changing for this Cardinals team. And it's all because of Jonathan Gannon. The rushing attack was awesome. The defense was awesome. The quarterback was good. Everything came back to the discipline and relevancy and the standard that Jonathan Gannon has set for this team. And then lastly, my final point, and I made this last week, but now it is even more true this week, and it better happen. And I'm just going to state it again. Don't be fooled by how good this Cardinals pass rush was today. That's Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis manufacturing things. That's this defense playing from the energy that the offense also gives them. And the Bears' offensive line just doesn't look to be very good. Although this defense has continued to play above what they should be, Monty Ossenfort needs to make a trade. It was a big deal last week that he didn't do it, and they were 4-4. He stayed patient. Maybe the price comes down. He wanted to see if they were a real legitimate playoff threat. There is no more excuses. This team is 5-4, first in their division. You need to go make a trade. And now, you have set the pressure so far up on yourself where I said last week, go get Josh Uche, go get a smaller pass rusher. It just needs to be someone. I'm not asking for Myles Garrett. But now that this team is 5-4, you might have to go maybe not completely big fish hunting, but decent fish hunting. Go get Zadarius Smith. Go get a pass rusher that can help out this defense. They have earned it. This offense has earned it. This defense has definitely earned it. Jonathan Gannon has earned it. Quit stockpiling a bunch of picks. This team has a lot of good young players. You can live without a day 4 pick. I'm sorry, you can live without a round 4 pick, a day 3 pick. The Browns are reportedly, who knows, maybe he gets moved by the time this video's out. It doesn't really just mean just for Zadarius Smith, but the Browns are reportedly want a day 3 pick, an early day 3 pick. You can live without a 4th round pick if you're Monty Ossenfort. Throw this team a bone. Go get a Zadarius Smith, or maybe it's not Zadarius Smith, just in case he's gone at this point. But you need to go get a Zadarius Smith level player for this team. Give up a 4th round pick. Give up a 5th round pick. The standard for not only this team and expectations for this team has not only been raised, but you to go get a pass rusher, the standard and expectation for that has been raised too. Zadarius Smith would work out perfect in this team. But that's fine. You don't want to go get him? That's fine. But you've now elevated the expectation from a Josh Uche type of player to now a Zadarius Smith type of player. Maybe it's not him, but a player like that. Go get a warm body. Go get this team the pass rusher they deserve because they've earned it. And then you stockpile that up with Darius Robinson, who looked, I was at training camp. I was with the media. I got a good up and close look. He looked awesome. I saw him with my own 2 eyes. He was great at training camp. You match up Darius Robinson and a guy like Zadarius Smith or a Zadarius Smith level player. You're like, hey, that pass rush. You add Jonathan Gannon to that mix. He cooks up things. Nick Rawlis does as well. They might not be too bad. The clock was already ticking last week for Monty Ossenfort. Now it is ticking. It's very loud. And the clock is going to strike midnight. Monty Ossenfort better be making a deal as we speak. And better get one done by Tuesday. But other than that, happy vibes, happy times. The Cardinals look awesome. Kyler Murray, once again, looked good. Didn't ask him to do more than he needed to do, which is like the perfect place for Kyler. And just kind of lastly, I don't like to do the fanboy thing. That's not what I do. I hold teams accountable. I tell you exactly what I feel. I don't lie to you. I will never lie to you. Whatever I see, I'm going to come on here and give you my unfiltered, 100% raw opinion. One thing I don't do very well is holding back my opinion. But I got a fanboy for a second. This team looks fun. And although, again, I cover this team, I also grew up loving this team. I also grew up watching this team. They've kind of got a 2021 Suns feel to it. Maybe not 2021, that team went to the finals, but a 2020 bubble Suns feel to them. They're very likable. They're playing past what we think they should be playing like. They've got weapons and young guys everywhere. They've got a franchise quarterback, a franchise cornerstone quarterback in Kyler Murray, and a good head coach. And you haven't had that since the Bruce Arians era. And, it's pretty awesome. And this team is quickly raising standards. That's my quick 30, 45-second fanboy rant. But I'm stoked for this team. And next week, they've got the Jets, as I get a little bit derailed here. Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. I will also be in that game at Minnesota later this month. I'll be going with a buddy. Might do some vlog style with that. Drake May, Bryce Young. This team is staring at first place in this division and potentially a wild card berth. This team is so much fun and has completely changed everything for me, Cardinals fans, and the media. All right, fanboy takeover. First 16 minutes of this was not a fanboy take, but the last 2 minutes were. Anyways, Cardinals win 29-9. Big win, culture win, team look good. I'll talk to you guys next week.